As we age, it's natural to experience occasional forgetfulness. Maybe you've misplaced your keys or forgotten someone's name for a moment. We all have those moments. But what happens when these moments start happening more frequently, or when they begin to impact your daily life? Could it be something more than just normal aging? If you've been finding yourself getting lost in familiar places, forgetting recent conversations, or struggling to remember important events, these could be signs that your brain health is changing. For many, memory loss and confusion are often overlooked as a normal part of growing older, but these symptoms can be some of the first signs of Alzheimer's disease or other types of dementia. And while it's easy to brush off these early signs as just part of the aging process, early detection is crucial in managing and slowing down the progression of these conditions. So it's important to recognize the warning signs and take action sooner rather than later. In this video, we'll explore 7 early signs of cognitive decline that are often overlooked but can be the first indicators of Alzheimer's. These subtle changes in your memory and behavior might be easy to miss at first, but they are critical clues. The good news is, if caught early, you can take steps to manage these symptoms and improve your quality of life. By recognizing these signs early, you can preserve your independence, keep your mind active, and maintain a fulfilling life as you age. You don't have to wait until things become overwhelming. Recognizing these signs early gives you the opportunity to make the right changes, seek the proper treatment, and ensure that you maintain a healthy, active, and independent lifestyle for as long as possible. Stay with us as we walk through these 7 signs, and remember it's never too early to start paying attention to your cognitive health. You might be surprised by what you can do to help keep your mind sharp and your memory intact. I know you are a person who likes to watch videos quietly. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, now is a good time to do it because you are a kind person. If the video is helpful, press 1. If the video is not good enough or needs improvement, press 2. Thanks, everyone. Now let's get started. Number 1. Forgetting recent conversations. One of the first signs of Alzheimer's disease or dementia that people often overlook is forgetting recent conversations. It's completely normal to occasionally forget a detail of a conversation or to ask someone to repeat themselves. However, when this becomes a frequent occurrence, or when you start to find yourself unable to remember key details of conversations just moments after they happen, it can be an early indicator of cognitive decline. For example, take John, a 69-year-old retiree who noticed that he was often unable to remember the conversations he had with his wife, especially when they were talking about family matters or plans for the week. At first, John dismissed it as being too distracted or stressed, but after a while, it became clear that he was forgetting entire conversations. He would ask his wife the same questions multiple times within a few hours, unaware that he had already received the answer. His wife became frustrated, and John started to feel self-conscious and confused, unsure why he couldn't retain such simple information. Why does this happen? The brain processes and stores information in different ways. In Alzheimer's disease, the brain begins to lose the ability to form new memories and struggle with retaining short-term information. The hippocampus, which plays a vital role in memory formation, starts to become damaged. This can cause the brain to forget recent conversations, especially if they don't get filed properly into long-term memory. It's also common to lose track of details, like someone's name or a specific event that was just discussed. When you find that you're asking the same questions over and over, or forgetting a conversation you had only a few minutes ago, it's more than just a minor lapse in memory. It could indicate that cognitive function is beginning to decline. For John, his forgetfulness started affecting his ability to connect with his wife and family, leading to feelings of frustration, embarrassment, and confusion. His loved ones noticed the change, and although John initially brushed it off, he eventually went to see a doctor, where he learned that these memory issues could be a sign of early-stage Alzheimer's. It's important to understand that forgetting recent conversations is not just about being distracted or having too much on your mind. It is a warning sign that should not be ignored. People experiencing this symptom may also struggle with following conversations or retaining new information, making it harder to engage in normal daily interactions. Over time, this can lead to social isolation, as individuals may avoid conversations due to embarrassment or confusion. If you notice yourself or a loved one forgetting recent discussions or repeating questions, it might be time to take note of these changes and consult a healthcare professional. Early intervention can help identify the underlying causes and begin treatment options that may slow the progression of Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. Recognizing the early signs of cognitive decline is crucial. The sooner the signs are identified, the sooner appropriate intervention strategies can be implemented. These might include cognitive therapies, changes in lifestyle, or even medication, all of which can help manage symptoms and improve the quality of life for those affected. In the next section, we'll discuss another common sign of Alzheimer's disease: getting lost in familiar places. This can be especially troubling, as it might happen when someone is in their own home or neighborhood, places they've visited countless times. Stay tuned to understand how this sign of dementia might show up and how to address it. Number 2, getting lost in familiar places. Another early sign of Alzheimer's disease that can be particularly alarming is getting lost in familiar places. Most of us have a well-established sense of direction when navigating places we visited many times: our own home, the local grocery store, or a regular route we take while walking. But for individuals with Alzheimer's, even these familiar places can become confusing, causing disorientation and a sense of being lost. Take Margaret, a 70-year-old woman, for example. Margaret had been living in the same neighborhood for over 40 years, and she knew the streets and local shops well. One afternoon, however, she went to the grocery store and found herself walking around, unable to remember how to get back to her car. At first, she thought she had simply become distracted, but it started happening more often. She began forgetting familiar landmarks on her daily walks, and sometimes she couldn't remember how to get to the local park or even back to her own front door. This symptom is often overlooked as just a normal sign of aging, but it's one of the key indicators of early-stage dementia, specifically Alzheimer's disease. Getting lost in places you've known for years is caused by memory problems related to spatial awareness and navigation. When the brain's hippocampus, the part responsible for memory and spatial orientation, begins to deteriorate, it can make even the most familiar environments feel confusing. This can lead to feelings of anxiety, frustration, and embarrassment, as it becomes difficult to navigate spaces you once knew well. The frightening thing about getting lost in familiar places is that it can happen unexpectedly. Someone might be able to find their way home one day, but become disoriented the next. In some cases, the person may not even realize they are lost until they've gone too far. John, another example, was used to walking to his local coffee shop every morning. One day he took a familiar route, but ended up walking for over an hour in the wrong direction, before realizing he had completely lost his bearings. John's wife became increasingly concerned, and it was clear that this wasn't just a typical lapse in memory. It was a sign of something more serious. What should you do if you or a loved one experiences this? First and foremost, it's important not to ignore the symptom. Getting lost can lead to dangerous situations, such as falling, being stranded, or getting into unfamiliar areas where help may not be readily available. Seeking medical advice is the best course of action if you start noticing this symptom regularly. Early diagnosis can help you get the support needed, including therapies and strategies to help cope with these challenges. In addition to consulting with a healthcare professional, it can be helpful to create routines or systems that reduce the risk of getting lost. For example, using a smartphone with GPS to track familiar locations or setting reminders for regular routes can be an easy solution to improve confidence and safety. For loved ones, it's important to stay patient and offer support when they feel disoriented. Physical aids, such as signposts, memory cues, or photo reminders, can help someone navigate familiar places. In the next section, we will dive into another sign of Alzheimer's: difficulty with routine tasks, such as forgetting how to handle money, use appliances, or prepare meals. These issues often arise as cognitive decline progresses, but recognizing them early can help create a plan for care and support. Stay tuned for more tips on how to address the early signs of dementia and improve quality of life for your loved ones. Number 3. Difficulty planning or solving problems. Another early and common sign of Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia is difficulty planning or solving problem. As we age, our cognitive abilities change, but problems with basic problem-solving skills that interfere with everyday life should not be ignored. Tasks that once felt simple, like balancing a checkbook, following a recipe, or even paying bills, may become increasingly difficult for those experiencing early-stage dementia. For instance, let's look at Helen, a 72-year-old woman who loved to cook. Over the years, Helen had become quite adept at making her favorite dishes. However, she started to notice that she was having trouble following recipes. Simple things like remembering the ingredients or the steps to make her favorite meals began to slip from her mind. At first, Helen thought it was just a matter of being tired or distracted, but soon she was unable to follow a recipe at all, even one she had cooked hundreds of times. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a clear sign that something was wrong. Helen also found herself struggling to manage her finances. Paying bills, a task she once handled effortlessly, became overwhelming. She would often forget whether bills had been paid or mix up the due dates, leading to late payments and added stress. For someone with Alzheimer's, the ability to think critically, plan ahead, and solve problems declines because the brain's processing centers start to weaken. The frontal lobe, which controls reasoning, problem-solving, and planning, becomes impaired, leading to difficulty managing tasks that were once second nature. This sign of cognitive decline can sometimes be subtle at first, which makes it difficult to recognize. For example, Jack, a 76-year-old retired engineer, started experiencing problems with basic calculations. He found that when he was writing out checks or figuring out his monthly budget, he couldn't get the numbers to add up properly. Jack would frequently double-check his math, but something didn't feel right. He was no longer able to perform basic arithmetic as he once did. His problem-solving abilities seemed to fade, and tasks that required focus and attention to detail became overwhelming. In addition to issues with everyday tasks, this difficulty in problem-solving can also lead to frustration and confusion, which may cause the person to avoid tasks altogether. They might avoid using the stove or attempting complicated activities because it becomes too challenging, leading to a decrease in their confidence and independence. So how can you recognize this in yourself or a loved one? Look for signs such as difficulty following through on familiar activities, like cooking, shopping, or managing finances. Trouble organizing tasks or keeping track of personal items, e.g., forgetting where the keys were placed or failing to keep appointments. Increased reliance on others for help with decision-making or solving problems. Difficulty with tasks that require attention to detail or complex thinking, like following instructions or planning ahead for the future. If you notice these behaviors regularly, it might be time to consult a healthcare provider. Cognitive assessments can help determine whether there's an underlying condition causing the difficulty. Early intervention is important because it can help improve quality of life, provide strategies to cope with these challenges, and possibly slow the progression of the condition. In the next section, we'll explore forgetting important dates or events, which can often accompany the inability to plan or solve problems. Missing significant moments, like family gatherings or important appointments, may signal a deeper issue with memory. Stay tuned as we continue to uncover the early warning signs of dementia and share practical steps for managing them. Number 4, forgetting important dates or events. As we get older, it's normal to occasionally forget something, whether it's a friend's birthday or a family gathering. But when important dates or events are forgotten frequently, it can be a sign of something more serious. Missing significant events like doctor's appointments, weddings, anniversaries, or even family holidays is not just a lapse in memory. It's one of the early and most noticeable signs of Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Let's take Linda, a 74-year-old woman who has always been known for her sharp memory. For years, she could easily remember important dates, birthdays, anniversaries, and medical appointments. But one year, she forgot her daughter's birthday, and not just once, but for several years in a row. She also started missing doctor's appointments that she had scheduled months in advance. At first, she thought it was just a matter of being busy, But when her daughter pointed out how often it was happening, Linda realized something was wrong. Why does this happen? The reason behind forgetting important dates or events is that Alzheimer's disease affects the brain's ability to form new memories, especially when it comes to short-term memory. The hippocampus, the area responsible for storing new memories, becomes damaged as the disease progresses, making it harder to retain recent information. So something as simple as remembering a birthday or an appointment becomes a challenge. When you begin to forget important things that are central to your routine, it can be unsettling. It's not just about forgetting the date, it's about forgetting what it means, like the connection to the people or events that are important in your life. This loss can make you feel disconnected, frustrated, and even a little lost. John, a 68-year-old man, also had trouble remembering important dates. He noticed that he was forgetting family reunions, church services, and medical checkups that he had always been good at keeping track of. At first, John and his family just chalked it up to normal aging, but when he started forgetting memorial services for close family members, his family realized it was time to seek help. John was eventually diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's, and his family began working with his healthcare provider to create strategies that could help him stay on track with his memory. So how can you tell if this is something more than just a little forgetfulness? It's important to pay attention when missed dates become a regular pattern. If you are constantly forgetting appointments, family events, or important personal commitments, it's a sign that something might be changing in your memory. Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia typically affect recent memory first, so forgetting significant life events could be an early indicator of cognitive decline. If you or a loved one are experiencing this, it's important to talk to a doctor. Early diagnosis is key in managing the symptoms of Alzheimer's and slowing down the progression of the disease. There are things you can do to help yourself, like using memory aids such as calendars, alarm reminders, or even digital apps to track appointments. You can also ask a trusted friend or family member to remind you about key events. However, if you begin to notice that these issues are affecting your ability to perform daily activities or are causing emotional distress, it's time to seek professional help. While forgetting important dates is something we all do from time to time, when it starts happening often and consistently, it may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. In the next section, we'll explore another sign of cognitive decline: difficulty understanding visual images and spatial relationships, which can make even the simplest tasks seem complicated. Stay with us to learn more about how changes in visual processing can affect your daily life. Number 5, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Let's talk about something that's often overlooked, but can have a huge impact on daily life: difficulty understanding visual images and spatial relationships. This is one of the signs of Alzheimer's disease, and it can make even the most familiar surroundings feel confusing. It's not just about seeing things, but about processing and interpreting what you see. Let's dive into how this can affect you or a loved one. Imagine Betty, a 74-year-old woman who's always been independent and loves to do her own shopping. One afternoon, Betty was walking around her local grocery store and suddenly felt disoriented. She had trouble recognizing where the dairy section was, even though she had visited this store hundreds of times. She also started bumping into other shoppers and had difficulty judging distances, something that had never been a problem before. Betty realized that her depth perception and ability to make sense of her surroundings were becoming impaired. Why does this happen? Well, Alzheimer's disease can affect the part of the brain responsible for visual processing, particularly areas like the occipital lobe and parietal lobe. These parts of the brain help us interpret what we see and understand how objects are related to each other in space. When these brain regions start to deteriorate, people often experience problems with visual spatial relationships, like difficulty judging distances, recognizing familiar objects, or even seeing contrast properly. This can make everyday activities, like walking, driving, or even reading, more difficult and dangerous. For Betty, her disorientation in the store became more frequent, and it led to feelings of frustration and embarrassment. She started to avoid certain places like crowded areas or unfamiliar paths because she wasn't sure if she could navigate them safely. This type of difficulty can be a significant source of anxiety for people, especially as they realize their surroundings are becoming harder to understand. What can you do if you or a loved one is experiencing similar issues? First, it's important to seek professional help. An early diagnosis can provide you with ways to manage these symptoms and help you stay safer in your daily environment. Eye exams and neurological assessments can help rule out other conditions and pinpoint the issue. Here are some practical tips you can apply right away. 1. Increase contrast. Use high contrast colors in the home, like bright yellow on white or dark backgrounds, to help distinguish objects more easily. 2. Avoid clutter. Make sure pathways are clear and well lit. This makes it easier to navigate spaces without stumbling or feeling confused. 3. Use visual cues. Mark important places or objects with large, clear labels or pictures. This could be helpful in remembering where things are, like marking the medicine cabinet with a photo or label. One key thing to remember is that patience and understanding are essential when dealing with changes in perception. People who experience visual spatial difficulties can get frustrated easily, so offering gentle support can make a big difference in their confidence and comfort. And here's a question to think about. Have you ever noticed yourself or a loved one feeling more disoriented or having trouble with basic navigation around familiar places? How can we make our environments more user-friendly to support these changes? In the next section, we will discuss difficulty with routine tasks, like using appliances or following directions, which can be an extension of these issues. Stay tuned as we explore this important sign and how it can affect daily life. Number 6, withdrawal from social activities. One of the more subtle yet significant signs of Alzheimer's disease or dementia is withdrawing from social activities. At first, it might seem like a natural response to aging, especially if the person has always been a little shy. But when someone who was once active and engaged starts to pull away from family, friends, and activities they once loved, it can be an important clue that something is changing in their cognitive health. Take Joan, a 74-year-old woman who loved hosting family gatherings and spending time with friends. She was known for her vibrant personality and never missed a Sunday brunch with her children. But over time, her family started to notice that she was avoiding social gatherings. Joan, who used to look forward to family dinners, now started making excuses to skip them. She claimed she was too tired or just didn't feel like going out. At first, no one thought much of it. But after a few months, her family realized this was becoming a regular pattern. Joan, once full of life, was now avoiding people she loved. Why does this happen? In Alzheimer's disease, one of the first areas of the brain to be affected is the part responsible for memory and communication. This can lead to feelings of embarrassment and frustration. For many with Alzheimer's, they may struggle to remember names, follow conversations, or keep up with group discussions. As a result, they may feel self-conscious and begin to withdraw. The fear of saying the wrong thing or not being able to participate in a conversation can make them avoid social situations altogether. For Tom, a 70-year-old man who had always been the life of the party, this withdrawal became more noticeable over time. Tom had always enjoyed playing cards with his friends and joining family barbecues. But recently, he started canceling plans or sitting quietly in the corner during gatherings. He felt embarrassed because he was having trouble following conversations and remembering what people were talking about. He didn't want to seem like he wasn't interested, so he started avoiding these activities altogether. So what can you do? It's important to encourage social engagement, even if it's a small step. Gentle invitations to low-pressure events can help keep them involved without making them feel overwhelmed. For example, suggesting a simple walk, a coffee date, or just watching a favorite show together can be a good starting point. The goal is to create an environment that feels safe and comfortable for them to engage at their own pace. It's also important to be patient and non-judgmental. Social withdrawal is often a defense mechanism against embarrassment or fear of memory loss. Positive reinforcement and understanding can go a long way in helping someone feel secure in social settings. Encouraging them to share their feelings, listen without judgment, and celebrate small wins in their social engagement can help rebuild their confidence. What can we do to make social settings more inclusive for those experiencing cognitive decline? How can we support our loved ones so they don't feel isolated or left out? Let's talk about it and keep supporting each other as we face these challenges together. In the next section, we'll dive into changes in mood and personality. Another sign of Alzheimer's that can be difficult to understand, but very important to recognize. Stay tuned for tips on how to support those who are experiencing these changes and to maintain a positive and healthy environment. Number 7, changes in mood or personality. One of the most noticeable signs of Alzheimer's or dementia is a sudden or unexplained change in mood or personality. People who were once outgoing, optimistic, and easygoing may become irritable, anxious, or even paranoid. This can be very difficult for family members to understand, as the person may seem like they're acting out of character. But these emotional shifts can be an early sign that something is happening in the brain, and they often get worse as the disease progresses. Take Edward, a 74-year-old man who had always been known for his calm demeanor and sense of humor. He was a dedicated husband and father, always in a good mood and quick to make others laugh. However, over the past few months, his family noticed some alarming changes. Edward began getting easily irritated with his wife and children, even over small things. He would become angry when someone asked him to do something or when they tried to help him with everyday tasks. His usual patient personality seemed to have vanished, and he often felt overwhelmed by simple interactions. His family was confused and worried, unsure if this was just part of aging or something more serious. Why does this happen? Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia affect the brain's emotional regulation. The brain regions that control emotions, like the amygdala, become compromised as the disease progresses. This leads to increased irritability, mood swings, and unpredictable behavior. People with Alzheimer's may experience anxiety, depression, or fear, even when there is no clear reason for those feelings. They may also feel paranoid or suspicious of others, even loved ones, which can lead to arguments or strained relationships. For Mary, a 72-year-old woman who had always been sociable and optimistic, her family started noticing she was becoming more withdrawn and easily upset. She would snap at her children for no apparent reason and became nervous when people came over to visit. Mary, who had always been open and kind-hearted, suddenly felt like she didn't trust her family anymore. This emotional shift can be extremely unsettling, both for the person experiencing it and for those around them. So what can you do to help someone who is going through these mood changes? First and foremost, it's important to stay patient and understanding. If someone is acting out of character or is suddenly feeling anxious or angry, it may be helpful to gently acknowledge their feelings without judgment. It's not about what they are saying or doing, but rather about helping them feel heard and supported. Here are some practical tips. 1. Keep a calm and reassuring tone. Speak slowly and softly when addressing someone who is upset. Offer comfort and avoid raising your voice, as this may increase confusion or anxiety. 2. Provide structure. People with Alzheimer's disease often feel more secure with routines. Try to keep the daily schedule as consistent as possible, which can help reduce stress and unpredictability. 3. Offer reassurance. If the person becomes paranoid or anxious, calmly reassure them that everything is okay. Try to distract them with pleasant activities that engage their interests. Validate their feelings. Even if you don't understand why they're upset, saying something like, "I can see that you're feeling upset right now and I'm here to help," can go a long way in calming the situation. It's also important to monitor any changes in behavior closely. If mood swings or personality changes are becoming more frequent or severe, it may be time to consult a healthcare provider to discuss possible treatments or therapies. Sometimes mood changes can be a result of underlying health issues, such as depression or medication side effects, which need to be addressed. The key is patience and consistency. People with Alzheimer's disease can have good days and bad days, but by offering reassurance and keeping a calm environment, you can help ease their emotional distress and support their well-being. In the next section, we will talk about difficulty performing daily tasks, such as using household appliances, managing finances, or taking care of personal hygiene. These are common signs that Alzheimer's is affecting a person's ability to function independently. Stay tuned for practical advice on how to support someone in this situation. As we've explored, Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia can affect many aspects of life, from memory and problem solving to emotions and social interactions. Recognizing the early signs, like forgetting recent conversations, getting lost in familiar places, or changes in mood and personality, is crucial for taking the right steps toward improving quality of life and maintaining independence. If you or a loved one is experiencing any of these signs, it's important not to ignore them. Early detection and intervention can make a world of difference in managing symptoms and slowing the progression of the disease. While there's no cure for Alzheimer's, there are plenty of ways to adapt and improve quality of life, from medication and therapies to simple lifestyle changes like maintaining a healthy diet, staying physically active, and engaging in social activities. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Support is available, whether from medical professionals, family, or community groups. Talking to a healthcare provider is the first step in understanding what's happening and creating a plan that works for you. Take action today by noticing the small changes in your memory, mood, or behavior. The sooner you recognize the signs, the sooner you can begin to make adjustments that can help preserve your independence and mental well-being. Thank you for watching, and we hope you feel empowered to take charge of your health and cognitive well-being. Stay informed, stay proactive, and stay strong. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and haven't yet liked and subscribed, now is the perfect time to do so. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people who need this kind of helpful content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll always know when a new video is up. Your support truly means the world to us. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.